The emergency klaxons had fallen silent 3 hours ago. But Mira Velen still couldn't sleep. She sat upright in her quarters aboard the Talon's Edge, the Zarakthi warship that had become her unlikely home. The metal walls hummed with the ship's life support systems. A sound that should have been comforting but instead reminded her how far she was from Earth. 6 months as the only human among a crew of apex predators beings whose ancestors had hunted in packs across frozen tundras on worlds she'd never see. The Zarakthi were magnificent and terrifying in equal measure, standing nearly 8 feet tall, covered in sleek fur that ranged from silver to deep charcoal, with eyes that could see in near-total darkness and reflexes that could snatch a plasma bolt from the air. They were the galaxy's most feared warriors, and Mira was their xenobiologist. She pulled her knees to her chest, trying to calm her racing heart. The ship had passed through an asteroid field earlier, and the impacts against the shields had sounded too much like the bombardment simulations from her military training. Earth needed allies, and the ex-Zarakthi Empire had been willing to exchange knowledge for one of humanity's greatest assets: adaptability. A soft scratching sound at her door made her freeze. "Lights, 10%, she whispered. The dim glow revealed nothing. The scratching came again, lower this time. Too low for an adult. Zarakthi. Mira's breath caught. The cubs. They were supposed to be in the nursery wing, 3 decks away. She approached the door cautiously and triggered the manual release. The panel slid open to reveal a small, furry face with enormous amber eyes staring up at her. Cub Sarek, barely 4 standard years old, sat in the corridor with his tail wrapped around his legs. His ears were pinned back, a sign of distress she'd learned to recognize. "Sarek?" Mira knelt down, making herself smaller, less threatening. "What are you doing here? Where's your den mother?" The cub's nose twitched, processing her scent. "Nightmares," he said in Zarakthi, his voice a small rumble. "The ship shook. Thought we were falling. Thought we were falling." X. Behind him, 3 more small faces emerged from the shadows. The other cubs from his litter, all watching her with that unnerving predator intensity that even the young possessed. Mira's mind raced. This was unprecedented. The Zarakthi kept their young separated from other species, a holdover from their evolutionary past when cubs were vulnerable to rival predators. For them to seek out a human and alien meant something had gone very wrong with the normal pack hierarchy. "Your den mother," Mira repeated carefully. "Is she well?" "She sleeps the deep sleep," one of the other cubs said. Illness. The den mother was ill, and these cubs had been left alone, frightened, in a crisis. Every adult Zarakthi on board was either on duty, managing the aftermath of the asteroid field, or resting for the next shift. The cubs had done what frightened children do across the galaxy. They'd gone looking for comfort. Why they'd come to her quarters, Mira didn't understand. But 4 pairs of amber eyes watched her expectantly. "Come in," she said, stepping aside. "Quickly, before someone sees." The cubs scrambled inside, moving with that peculiar grace their species possessed even in youth. Sarek immediately began investigating every corner of her quarters, his nose working overtime. The others followed his lead, their initial fear giving way to curiosity. Mira sealed the door and watched them explore. She'd spent months studying Zarakthi biology, learning their social structures, understanding the pack dynamics that governed every aspect of their society. She knew that cubs this age needed warmth, security, and the presence of the pack to feel safe. "All right," she said, sitting cross-legged on the floor. "Come here." Sarek approached first, tentative. His nose touched her hand, analyzing, categorizing. Then, to her surprise, he pressed his small body against her side. The other cubs watched, and one by one, they followed. Within minutes, Mira found herself at the center of a pile of warm, furry bodies. The cubs arranged themselves around her with instinctive efficiency, sharing heat and space the way their species had for millennia. She felt their rapid heartbeats begin to slow, synchronizing with her own. "Tell us a story," Sarek mumbled against her shoulder. "Den Mother always tells stories," Mira smiled. "What kind of story do you want?" "About humans," another cub said. "About your hunt pack on Earth." So Mira talked. She told them about Earth's oceans, vast and deep and terrifying. She told them about humanity's ancestors, who were neither the strongest nor the fastest but who persisted anyway. She told them about the time humans went to their own moon with less computing power than the ship's navigation system, driven by nothing but curiosity and determination. The cubs listened, enraptured. Their culture valued strength and ferocity. But Mira realized they were learning something else from her. That survival took many forms. That sometimes the scariest thing in the universe wasn't the biggest predator, but the creature who refused to quit. "We're not so different," she said softly, stroking Sarek's soft fur. "Your people hunt in packs. Mine never stops adapting. Both of us do whatever it takes to protect our young." Sarek's purring rumble filled the small room. "You would make a good den mother, Mira Velen." Her throat tightened. 6 months ago, she'd been terrified of these beings. Now she sat in the darkness with their most precious cargo curled trustingly against her. The door chimed. Mira's heart sank. This would be the senior officers, come to retrieve the cubs and probably file a diplomatic incident report. But when the door opened, it revealed Elder Matriarch Sorith, the ship's commander. The massive Zarakthi stood in the threshold, her silver fur gleaming, her expression unreadable. "Commander," Mira began. "I can explain." Sorith raised one clawed hand. Her eyes swept over the scene. The human xenobiologist surrounded by sleeping cubs, all of them peaceful and safe. "You found our missing cubs," Sorith said quietly. "They were frightened." "The den mother is recovering," Sorith interrupted. "A stress-induced collapse. She will be well." The commander's gaze softened, an expression Mira had never seen on a Zarakthi face. "We tracked them here. I came myself because I needed to see." "See what?" "Whether the pack could grow," Sorith said. "Whether a human could be trusted with our most vulnerable." "You have answered an old question, Mira Velen." The cubs knew what we adults were too proud to acknowledge. Sarek stirred, mumbling in his sleep. Mira held him closer. "Your kind fascinates us," Sorith continued. "You are small, fragile, with no claws or armor, yet you venture into the dark without fear. And now I see why. You protect each other. Always." Mira met the commander's eyes. "Every species protects their young, Commander." "Yes," Sorith said. "But tonight, you protected ours." The elder matriarch made a gesture Mira had only seen in the most sacred pack-bonding ceremonies, a bow of the head, an acknowledgement of trust. "Rest, den sister," Sorith said. "I will ensure you are not disturbed." As the door sealed, Mira looked down at the sleeping cubs. Alone in their beds? Not these cubs. They'd found exactly who they'd needed, not another predator, but a human who understood that sometimes survival meant simply being there. And in that moment, surrounded by warmth and trust, Mira Velen felt less alone than she had in months.